definitely one of those mileposts that you pass. By the way, not only can you get these Timex watches with SpeedPass, but they've got a whole variety of men's and women's styles. You can go on the Timex website and you can buy one of these for $45, $30, $35. Looks just like a regular watch. Now, it's interesting how easily these things slip into what seems normal. I have to say, the idea of carrying around a watch to make a payment, while it may seem normal in this era of Bluetooth wireless modem connectivity and computers, doesn't seem like that big of a leap. But if you go back 2,000 years ago and put yourself, even 100 years ago, and put yourself in the mind of someone who had never heard of a computer, who didn't even know what lay beyond the next ridge, and you envision explaining to that person how something slapped onto your wrist would be able to communicate a number over a distance which would be used to deduct an account which contained a number, not gold or jewels or goats, but to reduce the level of a number in some computer somewhere, I think that person would look at you and say, I don't get it. In the same way that these authors said, I don't get it. I don't understand. Right? But to us now, in fact, it's so obvious that it's almost not even a big deal. Well, of course, you just, transmit the radio wave, make your payment. What's the big deal? So as we talk about this, I want you to try, if you can, to put yourself back in a pre-technological era. There are no telephones. There's no way to travel. There are no airplanes. We don't know that the Earth is round. We don't know a lot of things. So at that point, the idea of even identifying everyone on the planet, much less using a wristwatch to transmit numerical data to purchase, is just nuts. All right. Next, so none could buy or sell unless he had the mark. Well, let's look a little bit at what's happening today about buying and selling. I don't know the last time you were in FedEx and tried to pay with cash, but FedEx actually won't take cash. They only take credit cards. The last time I went to pick up my car from the dealer after it had been repaired, I brought cash because I make all my purchases in cash. And they would not release my car because the woman couldn't make change. And in fact, even when I went and I got her exact change and I came back, she said, it's after 5 p.m. I can't take it. I have nowhere to put it. You have to use a credit card. So it's becoming to the point now where you almost, even now, and I'm not saying a mark, but there are occasions now where without a number you cannot buy or sell. The number being your credit card. There are places where you can go, and they won't let you do it. Try renting a car without a credit card. Right? Try checking into a hotel without a credit card. Even though our cash says legal tender for all debts public and private, and I'm awaiting a legal challenge on that to come from some quarter, and hopefully someone will challenge that and say, well, wait a minute, I incurred a debt at my car dealership. Shouldn't I have been able to pay off that debt with cash? And maybe someday somebody's going to stand up and challenge that. One of two things will happen. Either they'll let us pay with cash to pick up our cars from the dealership after 5 p.m., or they'll just strip that right off the cash. They'll just strip those words right off of there and say, well, there's lots of other ways you can do it. In fact, another signpost for me was when the post office, the United States Postal Service, actually had a sign saying, make sure you can pay with a credit card here. And when I got asked, every single time I went to the post office, the postal employee was saying, you can use your Discover or your Visa card, or whatever she was saying. And I said, gosh, you guys are really pounding me over the head with that. And she said, oh, well, we'll lose our job if we don't ask that. That's actually a requirement of our job, is we have to tell you that you can use a credit card here at the Postal Service. So you're starting to see more and more of a push and an emphasis to use credit cards, which are numbers, to buy or sell. Talk about loyalty cards for a minute. This is an image from The Guardian. It's kind of hard to see, but what it actually says on there is the spy in your wallet, what loyalty cards really mean. Now, loyalty cards may seem like a pretty minor thing to worry about, but let me tell you why loyalty cards are absolutely critical to the creation of a global system of registering purchases to individuals and requiring individuals to present a number to buy or sell. Prior to around 1990, when these cards were introduced, in 1990, a couple things were converging. The internet was becoming fairly widespread. It was beginning to spread into businesses and into stores, point of sale and purchase at cash registers. So those began to get hooked up to the internet so they could do real-time credit card verification, for example. The other thing that was happening, and you may recall prior to that, you could scan your credit card, but they'd scan it on the little sort of separate metallic plastic device that you could actually pick up. It was not wired to anything. They'd sort of scan it. Sometimes they maybe ask for ID, but they really had no way in real time, unless they picked up the phone and dialed a special number, which would slow everybody down. They had no way of verifying that that credit card was even valid, potentially. And those of you who are a little bit older might recall that prior to the 1990s. For many years, that's how credit cards worked. There was not a system where credit cards were linked into a thing called the internet, that didn't exist, where they could actually transmit that data in real time to some distant database and remove the money from your account in real time. None of that was possible. Now let me tell you what the loyalty card did to completely revolutionize this. The loyalty card at the local grocery store was the first time that identity was being asked for in order to make a purchase, but the identity was not being asked for as a method of payment. It was being asked for simply because they wanted to know it. And what the loyalty card infrastructure did is create these enormous databases, this huge infrastructure of databases that record people's names and everything they've ever bought at that store, item by item, orange juice brand by orange juice brand, can of Coke by can of Coke. Prior to that, that didn't happen. And in fact, let me back up, because the previous technological innovation leading to all of this was the barcode. Now, what did the barcode do that changed this? And by the way, in the 1970s, when the barcode first came out, a lot of people were saying, mark of the beast, we don't like this, buying and selling, there's some kind of mark on here, there's numbers on here, what is this, right? And in fact, some of you may actually recall that debate. In the 1970s, when the barcode came out, let me tell you what it did, right? The barcode changed physical items, stuff, into numbers. That was the first time humanity has ever converted physical items into numbers. So now, if I scan this pair of shoes at a store, it's not going to say pair of shoes. It's going to get the number off of there and record the number in the database. I suppose they could look it up and write down pair of shoes and put that on your receipt, so it's a little more human-friendly. But basically, the barcode turned things into numbers. The shopper card came along, the loyalty card, and turned people into numbers associated with those things. So it was the first time that we kind of got linked together, people and things, both numerical. Right? Now, what would it take from the system we have in place now, where it is now possible through all these incredible databases to link up individuals with their purchases, to absolutely require that they be linked up with their purchases. Now, the loyalty cards have done a pretty good job of this in the last couple of years, in that the loyalty cards will often bump up the prices unless you have the card, and then when you get the card, you get the reduction in price. And if you don't scan the card, you can pay as much as 50% more for certain grocery items. In fact, we have an example. Albertsons in Texas was caught pricing Velveeta cheese, Kraft Velveeta cheese, had right on the label $3.99, a little Kraft manufacturer's suggested retail price. Well, we caught them putting the everyday low price at $5.99 and saying, scan your Happy Albertsons card, your preferred customer card, and you'll get it for $3.99, a big $2 off. So what they were really doing was charging a $2 surcharge unless you scanned the card, or a 50% surcharge. So either you comply and you go in the database, you present the number, you get recorded, or you pay an extra $2 for, you pay $6 for $4 worth of cheese. That has been an incredibly successful system. At last count, 80% of American households had signed up to participate in those purchase registration programs. And mark my words, that's exactly what they are. They are not savings programs. There have been numerous studies across the country, most recently by CBS Evening News and by the Wall Street Journal, which have shown in every case it's been studied that the prices are higher at the stores with the cards, even when you scan the card, than at the stores without them. And that's because their database is unbelievably sophisticated and very expensive. And it costs a lot of money to store all that data about you and your purchases in the database. And you do better